Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today the RTX 50 series has finally been revealed by NVIDIA at CES in Las Vegas, and not too many surprises, it has to be said. The RTX 5090 costing $1,999, but the RTX 5080 at $999, which is actually surprising. We did see some rumors suggesting it could be up to $1,600, which I never believed, but you know. What I was surprised though is the RTX 5070 at $549 and apparently can produce the same performance as the 4090, obviously under certain conditions. We'll get into that in a moment. So let's talk about the main things. The RTX 5090 and 5080 both will be launching on the 30th of January. So I think this is one of the first times I've seen NVIDIA launch a card on the same day. So you got the 90 and the 80. I believe the 4090 came first and the 4080 followed. The 3090 came second and the 3080 was the first card for the prior generation to that. So to see 5090 and 5080 on the same day is pretty interesting. It's confirmed 16 gigabytes for the 5080 and 32 gigabytes for the 5090, both using GDDR7. So that's great. They'll be also using the same 16-pin power connector. So for those who wasn't a fan, they are going to continue to use that. But that's really not the most shocking part. What I found interesting was they're using a dual slot design for the 5090. So I'll go over more detail with the design here after we look at some performance. Now, they are saying this is 4K max settings DLSS, and with DLSS ray reconstruction on the 40 series, and on the 50 series is frame generation, and with multi-frame generation in the 4X mode, because you can actually determine how many AI frames you want to put in, like 3, 2, 4, whatever you want through the NVIDIA app.
Today, we are introducing the biggest advancements to DLSS since 2020, including new multi-frame generation for RTX 50 series GPUs, enhanced frame generation for RTX 40 and 50 series users with faster performance and lower memory usage, and a new model powering ray reconstruction, super resolution, and deep learning anti-aliasing that enhances image quality and stability for all GeForce RTX users. Alongside the RTX 40 series in 2022, we launched frame generation, where an AI network used an optical flow field along with motion vectors from game geometry to generate a single frame between every pair of traditionally rendered frames. The Blackwell architecture is built for neural rendering, and that unlocks new AI capabilities for DLSS. We can now generate multiple frames per traditionally rendered frame. To make this possible, our research team developed a new AI model that generates the optical flow field more efficiently and more accurately in order to generate multiple frames. Multi-frame generation requires consistent and precise frame pacing. DLSS 3 frame pacing had variability because of how different game engines divided workloads between the CPU and GPU. With the Blackwell architecture, the display engine was improved to leverage flip metering when generating multiple frames, ensuring that the GPU delivers consistent and optimal frame pacing. Additionally, 5th generation tensor cores on RTX 50 series GPUs have the computational horsepower necessary to quickly execute this series of AI models. These software and hardware innovations enable DLSS 4 on RTX 50 series GPUs to generate up to 3 additional frames between traditionally rendered frames. This brings revolutionary performance versus traditional native rendering. Most frame generation games available today can easily be updated to enable multi-frame generation with the NVIDIA app. In the NVIDIA app driver settings menu, open the DLSS override and select your desired output mode in the frame generation drop-down menu. When RTX 50 series graphics cards hit store shelves, multi-frame generation will be supported in more than 75 games and apps. In addition to multi-frame generation, our team has also been hard at work developing foundational improvements for our existing DLSS technologies.
Today, we're introducing an enhanced single-frame generation model for RTX 40 and 50 series GPUs, which, like the multi-frame generation technique for Blackwell, uses 2 AI models, one for optical flow and another for frame generation. The result is increased performance and lower VRAM usage, as you can see here. DLSS 4 also introduces a more powerful transformer-based model for super-resolution ray reconstruction and DLAA, using 4x more tensor core processing power to reconstruct images at even better image quality for all RTX owners. Previously, all these technologies used a convolutional neural network model, also known as CNN. CNNs were the dominant architecture for image-related applications during the early years of deep learning development. A CNN processes pixel information through local operations, spatially around a small number of neighboring pixels, and temporally across multiple frames. Now we're introducing a new transformer-based architecture for the first time. The transformer architecture is driving the scaling laws of artificial intelligence, and it's what powers the recent advancement in AI applications. Compared to the CNN models, transformers use self-attention and can much more easily identify the longer range patterns across a much larger pixel window. Transformers scale much more effectively than CNNs, so our transformer models ingest over 2 times more parameters and requires 4 times more compute during inference. In fact, DLSS 4 on RTX GPUs is the first time transformer models generates sequential images at a high real-time frame rate. Blackwell's tensor cores provides additional hardware acceleration that boosts the inference speed of these transformer models even further. When using DLSS super resolution, the end product of the transformer model is more temporally stable with more image detail in motion. In intensive ray trace content, the transformer model for ray reconstruction gets an even bigger uplift in general quality, especially for scenes with challenging lighting. All the common artifacts from typical denoisers are significantly reduced. With the NVIDIA app, GeForce RTX users can optionally update their DLSS games with the transformer model of ray reconstruction, super resolution, or DLAA.
So they're saying in Far Cry 6 with RT, you're getting about 1.25x over the 4090. In A Plague Tale Requiem with DLSS and ray tracing, you're getting about 1.50x over the 4090. And in Cyberpunk, and this is of course with all of the bells and whistles, all of the features being used, DLSS 4, multi-frame generation, ray reconstruction, the whole shebang, you're getting 2x performance over the 4090. So that's with 4 AI frames inserted rather than the one that was previously used on the 4090. It's also important to note as well that multi-frame generation is only going to be available on the 50 series, at least to begin with. So I would have liked to see some like normal raster performance numbers, but you know, NVIDIA a bit, I guess they're just holding that back. We'll have to wait for independent reviews. But yes, let's talk a little bit more about the model. Now, when Jensen came on stage, he did show a 2-slot RTX 5090, and I initially didn't even think it was the 5090 because the logo is so small. I think his hand may have been covering it. I didn't even see it. But what's interesting to note is that you now have both fans on the same side of the card. So the card now has one fan on one side and no fans on the other side, unlike the previous Founders Edition where there was one fan at the back on one side and one side at the front on the other. And now they've claimed that they've improved thermal performance so much that you can now get this down to a 2-slot card, which is small form factor ready. And they do kind of talk a little bit about how they were able to achieve that. I believe they use liquid metal as well to do that. So they'll give more details on their new revolutionary design, but they seem to have found a way to cool this beast, even though it's going to be potentially capable of 600 watts. It's still going to be able to be cooled by a 2-slot card, which is just mind-boggling to me. I'll believe it when I see it. I wouldn't expect anything less than probably 75 degrees in gaming situations, but man, there is so much to go through. Here are some of the partner models as well. So you have the MSI SUPRIM. Pretty much looks the same, and it looks like it's a 3-slot card. So at least the partner models are still the size we expect, at least some of them. This one, I don't even know what this is. It just looks absolutely huge. This is the new Asus TUF. This looks like a 3.5 slot card. There's just so much to go through. The 5070 Ti is also gonna be a step up from the 4070 Ti. I think they're saying that the 5080 is gonna be 2x the 4080. Now, I don't understand exactly what the situation is with the settings, but they're saying the same thing for the 5070 Ti, 2x faster than the 4070 Ti. But let me know what you guys think of the pricing. There are some features I do want to discuss. That is DLSS 4, of course. You're seeing Cyberpunk here running with DLSS 3.5 full RT on, so obviously path tracing mode, 105 to 107 FPS. And then with DLSS 4, you're getting 235. And of course, this is with the multi-frame generation, I think 4X. So, yeah, they've definitely put a lot into this in terms of marketing how much faster DLSS 4 is than DLSS 3 at least. And I don't know how you guys feel about AI frames being the kind of main push in terms of the performance improvements. They have shown that they have developed NVIDIA Reflex 2 with new frame warp technology to reduce latency by up to 75%. So with all of these AI generated frames, they have developed something to keep that latency down at least. So from what I've seen, it doesn't seem like we're going to be making much of a trade-off.
In 2020, we launched NVIDIA Reflex, which tightly synchronizes the CPU and the GPU to reduce latency by an average of 50% in top competitive titles. Today, we're announcing a breakthrough in our latency research with the introduction of Reflex 2 with frame warp. Over 5 years ago, our esports research team published a study illustrating how players aim better and complete tasks faster when rendered frames are updated based on more recent input. For example, when a player aims to the right, it takes some time for that action and the new camera perspective to be displayed. What if instead, an existing frame's camera could be shifted or warped to the right to show the results much sooner? Frame warp reduces your camera latency through this concept, which has gone from research to reality. Gamers are going to feel truly connected to their mouse movements, whether it's tracking a moving target or quickly flicking to aim at an unexpected foe. To warp to the most recent camera position, frame warp shifts many of the game's pixels, which can create small holes in some regions of the image, especially when mouse movements are intense. However, NVIDIA has developed a latency-optimized predictive rendering algorithm which uses camera, color, and depth data from prior frames to in-paint these holes accurately. For example, here's the finals with frame warp and no in-painting. And here's what it looks like with in-painting. The result is a frame which shows the freshest camera position seamlessly inserted into the rendering pipeline. Using this cutting-edge warp process, frame warp reduces latency by around an entire frame time, which amounts to nearly another 50% of latency savings on top of Reflex low latency mode, for a total reduction of 75% from native.
I still think there's room for a 5090 Super or 5090 Ti. They could easily make a 5090 with the same memory modules as the 5080 to give with the 512-bit bus, and then they could probably add some more cores, give you the complete version of their new Blackwell GPU, and market it as a 5090 Ti or 5090 Super. We'll see, and that will probably be the £2,600 card or $2,600 card we were expecting or rumored to be coming out at least. But so far, my thoughts in terms of the 1999 price point, the $2,000 price point, it's basically exactly the same price I paid for my 3090 Ti. So I'm not happy about it, but I'm willing to accept that. And being an enthusiast now, I didn't expect them to make it cheaper or the same price as the 4090, that's for sure. But £400 extra, we'll see. We'll see if that actually works out to be good value or not. For me, at least, it's something that I want to mess around with and I want to play with. So I'm definitely going to be getting one for myself. In terms of the availability, we'll see. Let's hope scalpers don't get any ideas and make it hard for us to actually get the card at MSRP. And we only know this as the Founders Edition being at 1999. So the partner cards could be 22, 23, 24, even 26. So there's that too. So yeah, it's going to be very expensive. I don't know what you guys feel about it, but I don't know. AMD didn't really give us much. The 9070 XT with the slides and stuff we've been getting, I believe it's going to be just a little bit, it's going to be competing with the 7900 XT, basically in terms of performance. We still don't have a price point, but with NVIDIA being a little bit more aggressive than I thought, they're going to have to price it competitively. Maybe they're waiting to see what NVIDIA were doing before making any announcements, but we'll see. I'm sure a lot more information will be coming out in the coming days. But let me know what you guys think. Are you going to be getting any of the RTX 50 series GPUs at the end of the month? If not, are you just going to stick with what you have and wait for something from Intel or AMD as your upgrade? That's pretty much it from me, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. And as always, thanks for watching.